Okay guys, we're here with Isabelle Legeron, who is a master of wine and founder of Raw Wine. Isabelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being part of it. It's great to have your energy here.
We're very, very happy to be here, and it's a really great energy. It's awesome. It's just like everyone is here enjoying the great winemakers that you've brought for us.
I know,
thank you very much.
I know. With the added stress of COVID everywhere and
It's
all of that, but we made it happen, and we were committed that we were going to make it happen no matter what. So
you've done very well. And I guess in a way, with the idea of COVID, maybe we should talk about that. How has COVID affected Raw Wine as an organization in the past 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, we barely made it, if I'm really honest, because we haven't traded in 2 years, and as a business owner, you know what that feels like.
Yep.
So, I had to cancel London a week before the event, and it's very hard to recover from that. So I was determined that no matter what, even if I'm just here by myself standing in the Mountain Lane, I will make this bloody fair happen. And we did, and then whenever the growers were calling to say, we're not sure, what should we do? I said, you have to come. We have to go back to normality. So for us, obviously it's been really tough as a business because there's been nothing going on. But what we've decided to do is also diversify. We've launched a web shop online. It's something that I've wanted to do for actually a long time, but I never had the time to do that. So there I suddenly had months to then develop this web shop, so we did that. And then we're also launching a digital conference called Alive, which is actually next week. And that's, an effort to kind of make it a bit more COVID-proof.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know what's going to happen in the next few months. And also Alive was really something we wanted to, because we do all our events. When we do an event, we also have our speakers corner. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of education and content. So we wanted to have a space online completely dedicated to content, which is what we did.
Well, it looks like you're doing great. I mean, I've been to the website, and there's so much content there, as Isabelle says, that you can explore. And it's alive. I mean, a few people today have actually come up to us and said, "Oh, this is going on. You should definitely check it out." And I'm excited to.
Oh, great, great. Thank you. Perfect.
In terms of natural wine, how do you feel like the natural wine scene, or even producers and an audience, have evolved in the past, let's say, 5 years?
Tremendously. I mean, when we first started with raw wine 10 years ago, we barely talked about natural wines. So a lot of growers were actually really struggling to sell their wines. They were not well known, people didn't know about Jason Ligas or, Gutogau. Everybody was just really beginning. Whereas now, for the past 5 years, it's really picked up. I think there is definitely a market for it. There's a good market for it. People are prepared to spend more money. I think it's encouraging more and more young growers to start. So there is a whole new level of energy where now the wines are sold out. It's hard to get allocation. I mean, you know that better than anyone else with your business. And I think that's amazing because suddenly, there is a market for these wines, whereas 10, 12, 15 years ago, there was not a market. So it's a completely different landscape. It's very exciting. The flip side of this is obviously now we have to be more and more careful in terms of who calls a wine a natural wine. There's abuse. There are people who are using it for marketing purposes. So that's, I guess, another challenge looming in the horizon for us. But yeah, look at it. It's tremendous. Yeah, it's really great.
You touched on something there about being careful about producers almost using the term natural wine, and I feel like this is something that I've noticed a little bit more in the past year or so, where you see almost entry-level supermarket wines branding themselves as raw, natural, orange wine, and really when you try it...
You're Chris from All Natural Wines.
That's right.
I'm Chris from Munich. I already ordered at your place.
Thank you. It's more natural wine. You touched on something there where you were saying how... we have to be a bit careful with larger, organizations taking advantage of raw wine, natural wine.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've actually noticed in the past year or so with entry-level supermarket wines calling themselves raw, orange, natural wine. And you actually, we try it sometimes just to kind of experiment. What is this like? And you can almost tell straight away, this is definitely not a natural wine.
Yeah, that's a big challenge.
Do you think there's anything that we can do to combat that? I mean, in France, you're starting to get some kind of more classifications going on.
I think what we need is to still fight for transparency. We need ingredient labeling regulation so people start putting on the label what it is. And I think, we need to just educate, communicate so that people realize that you cannot produce a natural wine if you produce millions of bottles. It can't be sterile, filtered. there's not a lot we can do beyond, try and communicate to people that if they want the real experience, they have to shop in places where, they cannot sell these wines that are made on a very, very large scale commercial basis.
Yeah.
There's not a lot we can do, but I think what we can do is organize events like this, have organizations like yours, and just promote, shop local, get to know your wine merchant, get to know your wine shop.
Ça va être un plaisir, mec. Ça va être un plaisir.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you. Thank you. Wear your mask. It's the only thing we can do, really.
Yeah.
I think people know when they taste a really good wine, and that's one thing I've noticed. And when I do events and like tutor tasting, I'm sure you've experienced the same. People who know nothing about wine, but you give them a really great natural wine, they get it straight away. And I think that's just what we need to focus on, really.
Brilliant. So a little bit of a fun last question. If you were a grape variety, for your character, your personality, what grape variety would you be?
So it's very good. I've never had this question before. I think it would be a Grenache.
A Grenache?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because some of my favorite whites are made with Grenache Blanc, Grenache Gris. I think it's an incredibly versatile grape variety. I love the climate. I'd love to be growing bush style in the Mediterranean climate, surrounded by garrigue and surrounded by wild thyme and all these amazing wild herbs and
Okay.
yeah, I think Grenache is
That's
a
great answer.
pretty sexy grape variety.
Brilliant. Isabelle, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
And we'll hopefully see you next year.
Thank you for being part of this, of course.